Yeah.
Are you guys ready to get started?
Hello, hello.
I know we've been waiting a bit. We were a bit delayed. But this is going to be the best panel you've ever seen at Black Enterprise Conference. So give yourselves a round of applause for being here. How many of you is your first time being at a conference this year? Me too, right? It's crazy. The pandemic has just shut us out of the kind of connections and energy that being in a space like this offers. So I'm super excited to be here. How many of you guys are coming from Philly? Local. Yay, awesome. Give yourselves a round of applause. All right, what about Atlanta, my hometown? Atlanta's in the house. Okay. Chicago. I saw a couple Chicago.
All right, Chicago.
Chicago. New York City. We got a, just I figured we have more New York City. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we're going to have an incredible panel for you guys. I want to take a moment and introduce myself. My name is Shimite Obialo. I'm a digital host and contributor for Black Enterprise. I'm also a corporate finance attorney. Have about 8 years experience doing private equity mergers and acquisitions, as well as venture capital deal financings. I also am a managing partner at Suites Capital. And most of you should have our flyer here. And this is really going to direct you to learn a little bit more about Suites Capital. But we're an investment community focused on gathering executives and entrepreneurs that want to co-invest together in deal opportunities. So building wealth together. Oftentimes it's difficult to get access to venture opportunities. You're having to write a check, $25K, $50K, $100K. Our minimum is $5,000. And this is really differentiated. So if you're interested in learning more about Suites Capital, then talk to myself, talk to Amma, one of my colleagues, talk to Vaughn Richmond. He's somewhere in this conference. But without further ado, I am going to introduce our panelists. Ross Mack graduated from Wharton School of Business here in Philly by way of Chicago. He's a former Wall Street professional turned financial literacy advocate. He has a show on Revolt TV and The Street. His brand, Maconomics, is dedicated to empowering people through merging education and entertainment to give his audience a fundamental understanding of financial freedom from an urban perspective. And he was just named McDonald's 2022 Game Changer. Give it up for Ross Mack. Now I'd like to introduce Sherrard Harrington. He's a venture capitalist and entrepreneur from Washington, D.C. After a career-ending football injury at the University of Colorado, he spent over a decade in the private equity space, helping professional athletes, entertainers, and other high-net-worth individuals build family offices and break into emerging technology sectors. Currently, he's chairman of EonXI Ventures, an early-stage venture capital firm that has invested in unicorn projects in the Web3 space, including Dapper Labs, State Space Labs, and Roll Social Money. EonXI Labs is an innovation studio that builds projects in the gaming, metaverse, and blockchain sectors. Please give it up for Sherrard Harrington.
My boy.
Awesome, awesome. How many of you guys are crypto enthusiasts? That's what's up. That's what's up. So this is going to be a little bit of a therapy, right? We're all looking at our portfolios, and it's not looking too good, right? That's okay. What did Master P say? Who was up in the session with Master P? He said, sometimes you have to lose millions to make billions, right? So we got to keep telling ourselves that. We got to say to the moon, right? So I want to open it up and ask our panel, talk to us about what is the metaverse in your view. And let's try not to be too jargony because, some of the folks here are not as experienced with the metaverse. Some of us are more steeped in it. But why don't we start with you, Ross?
Yeah, sure. So I think we've all heard the term metaverse. So let me kind of put it in our own language, right? It's literally the quintessential place of virtual reality, right? Virtual reality, augmented reality is going to be a place where you're going to be able to be immersed in a 3D world where you yourself will be able to develop your own avatar, right? Look exactly how you want it to look, however everybody on their filters. So however you want to look in this 3D world is exactly how you can look. And from there, you'll be able to socialize, play with your friends, shop, work as well. And so I think, sometimes it's hard to even fathom what that looks like. So let's actually talk about, the places that currently exist, right? Where does the metaverse exist? So I think some of us grew up, seeing people play The Sims or actually playing The Sims. Technically, that's the metaverse, right? We have little cousins and or kids that might play Roblox or Fortnite or NBA 2K. At the end of the day, those are all metaverse. The only difference is where I see the metaverse going kind of with, Facebook buying metaverse is that once you become fully immersed, you will be able to come from a 2D player, right? So 2D being NBA 2K, you see your player, you see them playing, right? You're controlling that person playing, whereas in the metaverse kind of with, the Oculus headset, right? Once you are fully immersed in it, you won't see yourself. You could probably see your hands, but you will be in a first-person kind of experience. And we've obviously saw movies like Avatar, where Buddy will plug in and go into that little blue world, or Ready Player One. And so I think the metaverse is a very interesting place, but, I'll pass it to Sherrard if you go.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is people understanding that it's not one single metaverse. I think Facebook, by them changing their name and rebranding themselves, it gives that perception that it's only one single metaverse. So I think behind that is a lot of these blockchain companies that you're familiar with, maybe Ethereum and Avalanche, these companies like that. They're building out their ecosystem in a way where they want the metaverse to be a multiverse. So if you have your own sort of capabilities or you want to build your own metaverse, you can build it on top of their platforms. And as Ross mentioned, it opens up the abundance of all these things. If you have your own products that you want to sell online, you can do it digitally now. You want to buy land, especially with what's going on in the world with interest rates increasing and things like that. This is a way that you can look at it as an alternative investment opportunity. This is not investment advice, so I got to put that out there. But yeah.
Nice. Now, let's just be completely transparent. Let's get real. So in 2021, Jack Dorsey sold his very first tweet. Jack Dorsey, the former CEO of Twitter, sold his very first tweet for $2.9 million as an NFT. And now that tweet is goes for no more than $10,000. So obviously there's been a steep decline in the NFT market.
Yep.
And what I want to talk to you guys about is, are we in a bubble that has burst? Can we see this market continue to grow and expand, or is it contracting for the long term?
Yeah, I think this is only the beginning. So a lot of things that's happening in the space is part of the early innovators. If we're talking about the chasm, we're right at the point where people that didn't really believe in the technology, they're not accustomed or they don't want to put themselves in position to learn about those technologies right now. So it's more focused around the innovators, the people that's actually building, and making sure that you get involved in those communities now and making sure how are they building out those different blockchains? How can I build my business on top of their sort of infrastructure? And that will help you think about it. So a lot of the things that's happening right now is retail investors seeing how a token price just went down, and now they're like, oh, I'm losing my money. I got to get out of that. I think you're not seeing behind the underlying that it's actual people building out there, and it's only the beginning.
Yeah, no, I concur with that. At the end of the day, right, like, what is an NFT, right? Everybody, Auntie was talking about it at Thanksgiving. Didn't nobody know what it was, right? Like, non-fungible token, right? What it is showing authenticity, right? One of one. And so the technology of what makes an NFT will remain forever, right? Because it is truly going to, revolutionize the game of whether it's digital collectibles or anything, right? Like, how many of us have all gone to either a concert or a sporting event recently? There are no more paper tickets. So by definition, think of it like this. You kind of bought an NFT, right? Here's the use case of it. You kind of bought an NFT because you bought something that is authenticated by when you walk in, they're going to scan your phone, right? Oh, you could come here. But think about it. That NFT is a one-of-one because it allowed you to go to that one seat, right? Row 12, seat 3. So you, at that moment, technically kind of had an NFT. And so where I see the NFT space going it's only going to continue to grow. However, like he's saying, right, retail investors were trying to get in really quick, trying to figure it out. And so Jack Dorsey, he struck while the iron was hot. He was able to sell his first NFT for almost $3 million. And now the person that bought it probably can't give it away, but the actual technology behind NFTs will only continue to go further and further, right? I look at musicians are gonna put out music purely NFTs, right? I know, was it Wu-Tang put out an album? They put out their album, only one person bought it for $1 million, right? If he did it as an NFT, yeah, he just got out too. It's funny, I don't know why I saw that.
Martin Shkreli, went to prison, as did his lawyer. I used to work, I was an associate with a partner that went to prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I was like, he's always playing it, this lawyer is always playing it fast and loose. At the time I was working with him, I was actually working on Shkreli's company, Retrofit. Yeah, but not that stuff that he had done before at his prior firm, but it's just crazy, when this is besides the point. But some of the things that we've seen, like, working in private equity, working in corporate.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, shout out to you not getting caught up in that whole thing.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed.
But no, so where I was going to go, but that's an amazing story. I want to hear more about it. But just understand that as, musicians, they will be able to use the NFT landscape to actually, further their careers. They might not need a label, right? What do you need a label for if I'm in control of my own likeness, right? If I own my one-of-one, this authenticated, NFT of my song, right? If I only put out 1,000 and more than 1,000 people want to hear it, boom, they can resell it. And you as the NFT owner can choose to say, I want to continue to own 20%, residuals of that, right?
Secondary market.
Exactly. So anytime if he had a song out, right, and I own it and I can go sell it to someone else, cool. I want you to keep selling it because I'm making some of that money each time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to that point, actually interviewed Lalo Sabanjo. He's an artist based in New York. He's a visual artist. He does a lot of these tribalist paintings. And he was doing a launch on Binance of his NFT. And he explained that to me, that the royalties is the big play for a lot of artists who, it's not just about, for visual artists, you don't get royalties, but now there's an opportunity to sell your work and then continue to reap those dividends from the resales of it. So, the underlying utility of NFTs is really what I'm hearing, and then the uniqueness being the key and the critical part of the value retention. But now, Sherrard, you were an early investor in Dapper Labs, and they are an innovative blockchain company behind projects like CryptoKitties and NBA Top Shot, as well as the Flow blockchain. So I know you're on the cutting edge of what's hot in the space. So what are some interesting projects that you're seeing that you've been a part of that you can share with some of us?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, the projects that we're currently working with, first and foremost, my team out there is amazing. I did not come from a traditional background. I played sports, had a career-ending injury. This private equity space, no one wanted to let me in their rooms. And the biggest thing for me, I had to knock down the doors. I was accustomed to that because it was the same thing in sports for me. That college coach that I wanted to get a scholarship from, I'm going to make sure that they hear about what I'm doing. So I took that same approach when it came to these startups, understanding that, yes, I am an African American, I come from the inner city communities, but that's going to be my advantage when I go into these rooms. And fortunately, a lot of these early projects, when they were just building, as I said, they're building out early in the space, I would go around in these rooms just like we are today and just say, hey, what are you working on? And build that relationship over time. Some people think like we struck the investment right away. We knew immediately that they were going to do well. It does not work like that. It's just understanding the person and the people that they have behind them. So going to your question about what other companies in the space. I mean, I'm excited to hear about other people concepts. If you're working on any Web3 concepts, Metaverse concepts, these are the leaders right here. So I'm excited about there. But as far as on the personal side, really investing in underlying tech. As far as DAO infrastructures, if you're not familiar with DAO, decentralized autonomous organizations. I believe, and I'm sure these individuals up here believe that's going to be the new corporate structure moving forward, just with the ways that entrepreneurs are thinking. So getting behind infrastructure tools and early on, I think it's opportunities there. The metaverse, it's so big. You can develop concepts within the metaverse that it's a lot of opportunity there. You may be a real estate agent right now, and then you, as I mentioned, with interest rates, the price of assets right now is through the roof because a lot of large institutions are buying up the assets. I think digital real estate is an alternative. Start buying it up now as if, we're buying America when it was first started. Think of it from that premise. Yeah, Ross, I mean, you see any opportunities in the space?
I think the opportunities are endless. It's just a function of, thinking outside of the box. I think when you think about the metaverse and the idea of a kid, being in it, right, doesn't seem cool, right? Oh, this kid probably was getting picked on at school. Now he's running the metaverse, right? And I think that once you get out of your own logic of thinking, you can start saying, okay, what is the world going to look like in 5 years, and how do I get there, right? Most people that have successful businesses are able to anticipate the demand for something and therefore get ahead of it and have the supply of it. So I'm with you.
Yeah. Now, Ross, last week Instagram announced that they were going to allow folks to actually house their digital collectibles on Instagram. And I know that Mark Zuckerberg talked about it at South by Southwest, that he was trying to build out an NFT marketplace. So, Sherrard, you mentioned that Facebook changed their name to Meta. That was a land grab, right?
Yeah.
But they don't own the metaverse. But what do you think of this new strategy? What do you make of it?
I think Mark Zuckerberg is a person that if you can't beat him, you join him, and we've seen that with him, buying Instagram. He tried to buy Snapchat. They wouldn't do it. So we now on Instagram can have the same story features and disappearing pictures, et cetera. And so with him looking and saying, okay, let's now bring, the NFT capability to Facebook, or starting off on Instagram, and at some point it will down the line be Facebook. He's saying, okay, OpenSea getting too much money. I need in, right? Because OpenSea is doing one thing. They're facilitating buyers and sellers. They're getting the money. And so Facebook Marketplace, think about that. Facebook was like, yo, eBay getting too much money. I need in. And so that's the exact same thing. And so, it's starting out, right? We've seen Twitter do it. I think YouTube is doing it where they're allowing people to, display their NFTs, right? At the end of the day, NFTs is, right, we talked about the use case of it, but for a person buying it, it's a flex, right? I got a Rolex, I got a Bored Ape Yacht Club that costs $250,000. It's a picture, right? But to show that I really own it, I can put it as and it be authenticated, I can put it as my profile pic. So that's what it's starting out as. But I think that the vision is going to come down the line, right? I got a question. How many people right now, if you wanted to buy an NFT, know how to? By show of hands.
Yeah.
That's about 20% of the room, right? The average person doesn't know, and then I would say even a smaller amount of people would even know how to make an NFT, right? How to mint one and what the process. And so I think what Zuckerberg is actually going to do is just going to make it more seamless, right? The same way we upload a picture as our new profile pic, the same way we can like a picture, or you could tap on someone's picture and then go actually buy that garment with Instagram Marketplace or whatever. I think that's what NFTs are going to be. You're going to instantly be able to upload a picture, and then they will be down the line, right? Certain creators they'll start with, they will be, oh, do you want to mint this? Do you want to make this an NFT? And down the line, I think that's what it will be. It will fully be an immersive marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Yep. To your point about flexing, I did buy the Method Man Metaverse and make my NFT my avatar on Twitter.
You see? That's a flex.
So I'm part of it.
That's a flex.
But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, and I can imagine. I mean, yeah, Instagram is where you display where you want to be, your imaginary life.
Yep.
And so I do see that making sense. A gallery for people to see and admire. Now, I want to get practical for this audience here and talk a little bit about what the opportunities are for small businesses in the metaverse with Web 3.0. As a financial advisor, I know that a lot of people are coming to you trying to get into the space. Perhaps they're, a little confused, but how do you counsel a business person about what the opportunities are?
Yeah, so the metaverse, and I'll say this, right, we're in the metaverse right now, we are where 1999 was for the internet. It's hard to, everybody here is an entrepreneur, right? It's going to be hard to say, I have a business where I don't have online presence. It's going to be hard to say I have a brick and mortar store without having the ability to have e-commerce, right? Because you wouldn't survive. And so I look at the metaverse as saying, this is the new iteration of where you want to have a new footprint, right? A new digital footprint. And so looking at it, you got to understand that, or better yet, if there call it 1,500 people at this conference, right? How many people do you think necessarily stopped at those booths, those kiosks right there, right? And interacted with them, right? Everybody sometimes, we outside of COVID, we're trying to rush to get to the metaverse panel, right? The best panel, as you say, right? But imagine now we doing this same exact Black Enterprise Conference, but in the metaverse. So instead of 1,500, 150,000 people from all over the country, you don't got to fly in. It's much cheaper to just stay there in your home and interact. Now, you just walking around, you might stop at that kiosk. And so now instead of having 1,500 eyes, right, sets of eyes, now you got 150,000 sets of eyes. And so for me, I look at saying the metaverse is saying, understanding what it is, finding a way to have a footprint there, because now you'll be able to have digital signs, right? Ads on digital billboards. You'll be able to sponsor events that occur in the metaverse, right? Like Travis Scott had a concert on Fortnite. Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, there are concerts and there are businesses that are capitalizing on this, right? The biggest thing as a small business or a small investor, ask yourself, what are the big dogs doing, right? What are the 800-pound gorillas in the room doing, right? McDonald's is already in the metaverse. They're filing patents. Nike, already in the metaverse. And so figuring out, okay, people are already there. How do I myself get there? And I think it's saying, I want to have a digital footprint, because at the end of the day, what is marketing? You want to get the most eyes possible. And so when people are on Roblox or playing NBA 2K, after I make my avatar, you got to have clothes on. What you want them in, Nikes or the Shaqs, right? I'm going to put them in Nikes, right? And so that's the idea for me.
Yeah. Spot on all of that. And what I hear, what I see people doing right now is absolutely the marketing play. To your point, you mentioned real estate, digital real estate. I saw a Beverly Hills mansion that was, listed for, I don't know, it was maybe $50 million, and then they had a corresponding mansion listed in the metaverse for sale as well, as a companion piece. Obviously, that then got that listing like splashed all over TechCrunch and crossed over from just like a real, mansion global, and now all of a sudden that listing is like newsworthy. So I do think right now, even though I don't think people are spending large amounts of time in Sandbox and Decentraland, I do think it's a marketing opportunity that I have seen like a lot of businesses deploy. Even like restaurants, I've seen restaurants create NFTs, and then the NFT gets you some perks, like a loyalty card.
Yeah.
So.
And the fact that the market is down now, I think is an opportune time. Buy up that real estate, go on those platforms, Decentraland, Sandbox, Somnium Space. Just buy up land. That's the biggest thing. That'd be my advice to the audience.
So now, I'm really curious. I like to think, also like future, where are we seeing this space in 5 years? I think we mentioned Ready Player One. There's a lot of dystopian views of, where the metaverse could take us. People are sitting in, four walls, like by themselves, barely nourishing themselves with their Oculus on, just like living this reality that's not tethered to the actual brick and mortar real world. Of course, putting aside my entirely negative depiction, where do you guys see the metaverse going?
Yeah, I think number one, education is going to play a huge role into education. We see with COVID-19 what that done to the whole educational environment. In addition to that, in higher institutions, like they're just implementing programs right now where their whole online experience is in the virtual world. I see 5 years from now, just as we talked about with the avatars, I think it's a big thing around people that want to be content creators or let's say musicians. Now they could act as their avatars. They don't have to deal with stage fright. Being up here right now, and they can put their avatars on. We see the TV shows doing that right now. Mm-hmm. I could see that being more of the norm. Another thing, we already talked about digital real estate. We don't need to speak on that, but I just think it's going to be a new evolution of content creators, people that utilize these game engines like Unreal Engine and Unity and being great at those platforms and building virtual experiences for these Web 2 brands and helping them get into the Web 3 space. It's a lot of opportunity, but Ross, I don't want to say it.
No, bro, you just touched on something amazing when he's talking about musicians, right? When I talked on it earlier, when Travis Scott did his concert in the Metaverse, right, it was on Fortnite, I want to say. Yep. He made in that one concert almost as much as he made in his entire physical tour of Astro World Tour. Literally one concert, he almost made as much money as he did in the entire concert he did for Astro World. I'm sorry, the tour, right? Multiple dates and stuff. And so at the end of the day, right, like, it's hard to fathom where it's going to be, but the way I see it, kids come home, they take their book bag off, right? First thing they doing, before they wash their hands or even go to the refrigerator, they getting into their new alternate reality. They're getting immersed, they're putting their headsets on, and you know, this kid who wasn't the coolest kid in class, he might actually be the coolest kid in the Facebook Horizon world, right? I think that he's gonna probably have a girlfriend or a boyfriend in this world, right? They're gonna be people he may not have never seen, people that they're gonna be able to talk to from around the world, all around different countries. They're playing together, they're interacting with one another, and I think at the end of the day, this is a world where, once again, it's gonna sound weird, but it's already happening though, right? Think about it. Because of COVID, right? COVID sped up technology innovations like maybe 5 or 10 years forward, right? And so we all was on Zoom in conference meeting calls, etc. What we did was change our background to make us feel better, right? If you would have just snapped on a filter on your face or avatar on your face, you technically in the metaverse, but instead of having to sit in front of the computer, you could walk around and say, oh, what's up, coworker? What's up, coworker? But you're literally in there. And so for me, one of the things I had to do in order to learn was like, man, let me buy this Facebook Oculus company, right? And I commend Zuckerberg because he bought this company almost 10 years ago, right? And it's like, yo, bro, really a genius to even have the foresight to even think about it, because I didn't buy it until this year. And he bought this, or Christmas or so, he literally bought the company, was it like maybe 2014, right? And it's like, it's insane that he can have that foresight because that's where we're gonna be, right? People like to escape reality, right? I live in Illinois. I live in Chicago, right? And I think it's either in Texas and Illinois, there's some lawsuit with Facebook that they just removed filters for a second. Mog's losing their mind. Oh, hold on. What Facebook, what you on with me? I'm going back over to Snapchat. People like to see themselves in a different way. So your avatar being perfect, right? This is the perfect person, right? Like, we in that new era, everybody wants to be perfect, and your avatar is going to be there. You're going to be able to go all around the world, have friends from all around the world. And so I think people are going to really start getting into it.
And I just want to add one more thing from a content creator standpoint, just thinking what Ross just mentioned. Now that we're moving towards an ownership-driven economy, where for content creators, I remember going back into these rooms 2012 with a lot of my influencer friends trying to get them brand deals, and a lot of them would say, like, what is influencer marketing? That was the phase during that. And we would pitch to try to get them brand ambassador deals. They would never talk about equity or anything like that. And I would always push that. Like, guys, look, you helping them build their entire infrastructure. We need to get ownership out of that. And what we're seeing now is like a lot of companies, that's just the first pitch right away. It's ownership first. We're not just trying to give you money to be a ambassador for our product, but an actual owner that's driving the product. So.
No, and you said something crazy, right? Education. I went to Penn, right? Like 50, 60 racks a year. What if I could be in the metaverse, have that same exact knowledge for 5 racks, 10 racks, or less, right? And so it's different, right? They only allow, right? They acceptance rate like 6%, 7%. I'm accepting everybody in the metaverse. Come on, come on, let's get it. It's different, right?
Wow, fascinating. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to get some water, and why don't we open it up for some Q&A? You know, I really want to hear from the audience. Everybody is coming with their own experiences. And Ama, we have a mic that we're going to pass along to folks. So I saw a gentleman right here who had his hand popped up real quick. So feel free. Perfect. Ooh, fun.
So it sounds like you created like a WeWork type of model, correct?
Yeah, we built WeWorks for companies.
Gotcha.
Like that.
Got.
Turned them out in like 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
What we're trying to figure out is what the future is with B2B. B2C, I think you two gentlemen and ma'am, I think y'all killed it. B2B, like people that are realtors and accountants, lawyers.
Yep.
Other than hiring me to build their office space for them, I don't know what their future is.
Yeah, I think as far as what you mentioned at WeWork, I think it's going to be more WeWork models, but it's going to have a gaming metaverse element into these physical locations. So this is where if you're in the metaverse, the biggest assumption around it is like, how do I focus on my physical health? So these environments will have places where you can train in there, you can have the Oculus, and you're running on a treadmill, and it feels like you're in a physical world. This is also a place where you can interact, meet other people in Metaverse, start connecting with them, figuring out what projects that they're working on. I told you the biggest thing with this blockchain industry is interoperability. So if we can create those communities that you mentioned and increase that interoperability, getting people in the space that's not native to the space and having people that's been in the space and come into these environments, I think it's a ton of opportunity there. And when it goes to the B2B element, a lot of those enterprise organizations want to be around those think tanks and information hubs like that as well. Also give you an opportunity to build products within there with this community that you're bringing into these facilities. Y'all can collaborate together, create a DAO that builds that product. So I'm not trying to give you too much ideas. All right.
Yeah,
all right.
no.
Cool. Yeah.
So you started it off by saying you build effectively like a WeWork for a community. What's the thing you need in order to build anything, right? Real estate. You need land. And he's been saying this whole time, right? Maybe buy some land while it's cheap. The idea, if you were to buy land there, you are now able to build out that place where people, not just, I'm not sure if you're from Philadelphia, but you won't have to be pigeonholed to just only Philadelphia contractors or people that will necessarily want your services. You could do it in the metaverse, and you'll have clients from Italy, clients from, any place. And that's just one aspect. And I mean, for the interest of time, I'll keep going, but that's a great question. But just from a pure B2B, now you're able to do that one meeting place, right? I see a lot of think tanks happening in the metaverse from people all around the world as well, right? Virtual world, NFTs you could have a museum, an industry party where everybody that does what you do come there, right? They're NFTs, so this is a virtual museum, right? And we're having a think tank. You can have a guest speaker speak in the metaverse, and now it's B2B. You have people sponsoring that event for you. I could keep going, but for the interest of time.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Yasmina Richardson. I am the owner of 400 Shades of Beauty, a health, wellness, and beauty platform. I also work at Thinker Maker Society down in Old City, which is a Black-owned art gallery. My question is, what do you feel like the dangers of the metaverse may be, and how can we prevent or course correct these potential dangers? I know you talked about it a little bit. I just want to know your thoughts.
The dangers. I mean, I think that you were talking about something with Black Mirror or something. Maybe you talk on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have people creating alternate lives for themselves. And whether that be your partner, your spouse, your child, not knowing what's happening out there in the Web3 world. I think that there's a danger when we live in another world, whether that's on your phone or whether that's, you know, real life living in another reality. So less regulation, so harassment, you know, infringement of your legal rights. I think because it's the wild, wild west, there's not a lot of rules. Yeah. So as a lawyer, I'm like, yeah. But I think that people like that, you know, but there's also a time when that becomes dangerous. So, you know, those are some of my thoughts.
Yeah. Also, what make it dangerous is if we miss out on this opportunity, especially as a black generation. Yep.
I like that.
Yeah.
Hi. Oh, you're going to hold it while I'm, okay. Hi, I'm Saran Sankofa. My question is for the panel. Shimite, am I saying it right? Shimite. She mentioned that she bought the Method Man NFT and she put it on her, as her Twitter avi, and Ross, you said, that's a flex, that's a flex. Beyond it being a flex, why does the average person care about an NFT as their social media avi? Why am I, as a business owner who is struggling or trying to figure out what I want to do with the money that I'm earning, why is investing in an image that makes other people say, oh, wow, that's cool, how does that benefit me as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I'll take it real quick. I think anytime you're going to make an investment with your hard-earned money, I think you need to do all the due diligence. Every investment has some underlying risk, right? I think that if you only had $100, I wouldn't tell you to go put it in NFTs. I would tell you probably put it in the S&P 500 and just sit back and relax and keep investing that same 100 every month or week or whatever you could afford. But I think when it comes to NFTs, you want to ask yourself, what's the use case of it, right? Same with any cryptocurrency. What's the use case? That's going to help you get an idea of, will this have some type of benefit, you know, 3, 5, 10 years down the line? And, you know, when a person, like the most valuable is Bored Ape Yacht Club. I think the use case is, well, you are in a very elite group. You get to party with the elite groups, and that's what's keeping, you know, their stock rising. But kind of what she said with Jack Dorsey's tweet, you know, that went from 3 million to 10,000. And so it's a very volatile sector. However, the use case of it, like as a business owner, if I have a coffee shop and I sell 1,000 NFTs that says any owner of this NFT gets 50% off any coffee they buy for the rest of their life, that's a valuable NFT, right? I think, so I look at it and say, what's the use case? Because it's not just going to be, you know, a picture of a monkey that's going to make an NFT. They're going to be completely different things, right? I see down the line when I buy a home, right? I'm not going to have to go in and sign all this paperwork. Buying a home is a lot of paperwork to sign. That whole process, the deed of the home will be an NFT. 3 years down the line, who knows? But it'll be an NFT, it'll be on a blockchain, because what an NFT is just showing pure ownership on the blockchain. And so if I can show pure ownership of, and this is already happening, there's an Italian car that literally says you buy the car, there's an NFT built in that's going to track how many miles you have, how many times you got the oil change and service. So you don't need Carfax. The car itself has an NFT that's going to let me know, okay, when I buy this car from this person, I'm going to buy the car and the NFT, but that's going to give me, 1, the ownership, but 2, let me know everything I need. So NFTs is just not pictures. It's going to be a whole different world.
Great. I also want to add that having an NFT or at least being knowledgeable about the NFT space, it signals that you're forward-looking. It signals that you are interested in expanding or nurturing an audience that might be younger, Gen Z. So depending on who your target market is as a company, as a business, I think that the signaling opportunity is important as well.
Hello. Rashida Ba with MasterCard. I have capital for fintech, Web3, or fiat companies that are launched or close to launching in 3 months. So come see me if that's you. My question for the audience or the panel is I'm really curious as to what's going to help the average black investor, working person invest their money in different portfolios, make it this an asset for them. A lot about the NFT and Web3, I get it, but actually the coin exchange, the value of it, what do you think is the hindrance to making that an asset for the average investor? Most of the people, I think that would be an audience.
Yeah, I think right now the biggest thing is this sort of restriction around the accreditation status. To invest in companies, you need to make $200,000 for the past 2 years or have $1 million in assets. And I think that restriction right there prevents a lot of people that look like us from getting in these type of opportunities. I think in the future, what's going to happen is they're going to start lowering down some of these accreditation status, whether you get a Series 69 test, if you don't want to work for a financial firm. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities to allow people that aren't native to the space get into the space, and I'm not saying from a retail standpoint. Everything that I mentioned was non-retail. It's coming into that startup early on when it's just 2 founders and being able to invest, as Shimite mentioned, $5,000 into that opportunity. Right now, and if you're not an accredited investor, you can't participate in those opportunities. So I think it's going to be opportunities where we could start allowing that and even creating programs, infrastructures where you can take the Series 69 test and pass it right away and start investing $1,000 into these companies. So I think that's the future landscape.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ayo Gathing, a psychiatrist and owner of a hemp-based CBD company. We've had a lot of issues and regulatory issues with marketing, trying to get our business out there, trying to reach our customers, even though we have a great product. Do you see any anything advantageous about going into the metaverse for marketing or retail spaces?
I personally would instantly go to Snoop Land. Snoop is building out his own metaverse.
Sandbox.
And I think we all know, yeah, it's on Sandbox, right? I would look into that. I think we all know Snoop is the face of, marijuana smoking, right? And so he literally, he's so dope. I rock with him. I've been studying. He got his son running this whole metaverse. That's a whole new business entity for him. But if you just look at what he's doing, you'll find ways to say, how can I, whether it's buying land next to his land or finding ways to just be in there and find ways to, I don't know if you could pass out digital flyers, but I'm sure you can. At some point you will be able to, but I would look at it from that standpoint.
Reach out to a lot of these the actual companies behind the marijuana brands as well. They may want to get into the space, so it may be an opportunity for you to collaborate there. And as Ross mentioned, if you can buy land that's already next to Snoop Dogg and you go into one of these top-tier marijuana companies and saying, hey, I got land right next to Snoop Dogg. We have 100,000 people coming walking across our land every day. Come join us. You'll have a ton of opportunities coming. Yep.
That's a good one.
Hello, my name is Kylie Russell. I'm the CEO of Priceless One Management, Event Staffing and Management. However, in addition to that, I am a professional model. I'm new to the NFT world. I just had to learn about it for an event that we're doing. And I'll say back in 2016, I did a stock photo shoot. They paid me like $600. And I gave the rights to that image to the company that sells it. And I've seen those images all over the world to this day. So in that case, how can I take advantage of the NFT world? Can I create stock images in the NFT world? And what I've seen mostly is like kind of digital images. So are they using actual photos? And can I use actual photos of me and sell them as NFTs where I still can make a percentage off of the rights of that NFT? That's a great question. And so the way I look at NFTs, they're projects, right? If you study kind of how NFTs work, they're projects, and sometimes they're just changing, like Bored Apes, for instance, right? It's an ape
Sometimes it's the same face and they're just changing the clothes or the facial expression around that person. And so the short answer is 100% you can, right? But what they're doing is they're building a community, and that community is starting on Discord, and those people are feeling extremely invested in saying, I want to invest in this. And so for them to be able to have an honor, right, it's a science the way they sell their NFTs, but if you're interested in selling an NFT of your likeness, you have to, I would say, first build and develop that community, and that community will be the people that are championing for you, Kylie, to say, yo, I want to buy this image. I want to buy this exclusivity of you, and I think that's how it will work.
And I think that's fascinating, and an idea could be, to Ross's point, you are collaborating with other models who have the same issue, because what you're identifying is really something that's ubiquitous across the industry. Mm-hmm. So then you're more or less collaborating and building a collective, then you guys together build a community of fans, of followers, which shouldn't be hard because people love to follow and emulate models, and you guys build that community on Discord and you launch a collection. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a digital, back when people would have the calendars, mm-hmm. January model, February mm-hmm. model, now you have a digital 1 through 12 photos of you and 12 dope, or, it could be 365 models mm-hmm. every day of the year. Mm-hmm. Hey. We need 10%.
I love it. Let's go. She just said she's ready to invest.
Hi, everyone. My name's Sophia Mamet, and I'm the founder of SMT PR. We are a brand strategy and public relations agency, and I'm very clear on the beginnings of possibilities with the metaverse for the fashion industry, but I'm very curious on your views concerning beauty, wellness, like more tactile, sensual type of brands that maybe don't see the potential for the metaverse besides filters, because a lot of beauty or product-based brands, you do have to touch it, feel it, similar to how perfumes might struggle selling online, but they would sell out in person. So I'm just curious to see any of your views on how more tactile brands can take advantage of the metaverse.
I think it's an opportunity there. It's not really many products in the space right now. You can build that product, as we're talking about, that has that functionality where I can touch the material, similar to like Mook. If you guys are familiar with Mook cards, they send those materials before you can touch and feel it. Maybe that's an opportunity right there. I think right now it's so new and so early on that, as I mentioned, you can build that right now as we speak. I hope you do that. Yeah.
That's real.
Hi, my name is Yami. I'm a student at Montclair State University, and I study communication and media studies. I don't feel like universities nowadays are like up to date, so I've been looking at other programs that I can learn, like virtual reality designing and stuff like that. But those programs are just as expensive as school, and I'm willing to explore investing more in that because it's more ahead than school is currently. Do you think that is a good idea? Because with media, I get the basics from school. I don't get like, okay, these are the tools that we're using, like really using nowadays. What do you think?
I think it's a magnificent idea. I'm sorry if I offended any school folks here, but I think just follow your dreams. The space is so new. Go out there, make it happen.
And I would say like most of the learnings are not going to come from school, formal education, because the industry is like literally happening right now.
Agreed.
So you can find, there's some resources that I found helpful, like Bloomberg has a podcast into the metaverse. Axios has a great newsletter on crypto. There are a number of, and then in terms of like general business education, LinkedIn Learning, Skillshare, those are things where you can go and like learn DIY. So that's the name of the game in this space.
And follow some Unreal Engine or Unity Discords and get in touch with those developers. Start building relationships. Yeah.
Hey Ross. Hey Shimite.
Hey, how you doing?
So quick question. So my name's Sharice Woods, and I am the Director of Marketplace Operations for Empower Global, which is a startup funded by Combs Enterprises. And so we are building this platform as a directory for Black-owned brands, and we're leaning into live stream shopping. I am very bullish on leaning into Metaverse. how complicated would it be to translate our digital marketplace for Black entrepreneurs to get them exposure in this space? How difficult do you think it would be to build that out?
I don't think it's quite difficult at all. Of course you need engineers, but it's definitely feasible.
Yeah.
Let's start yeah. Okay. So if
she's an aspiring
Hey.
engineer right there.
Yeah.
Collaborations in this room right here.
Great. Hello, my name is Mamadou Njai. First of all, I want to thank you all for your service on this panel. Very insightful, and you guys definitely set the standard in terms of just panel discussions. So
That's what I'm talking about. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm the co-founder of Relink, and we're a B2B e-commerce platform for SMEs within the African diaspora to connect with retailers. And we're working on trying to launch a NFT marketplace so our business partners can utilize those functionalities. My question for you all, since you are in the investment space, is what are some of the aspects for like companies who are like very early stage that you look at and say, okay, this is a fundable idea?
For me, and just to answer your question too, I was going to say it's a bunch of open source technologies out there as well, where you may not even need a developer. Learn a crash course for a week and start tapping into those open source codings on GitHub, and maybe you can build the application yourself. I've seen people do it in weeks. But going to your point, Ross, do you want to address it first?
Yeah, I mean, I know you're the VC guy, so I was definitely going to let you do that. But the question of how does your business appear to be fundable, right? Your NFT marketplace. I think at the end of the day, is scalability. Is your idea scalable? Do you have a niche? Are you able to offer something different to the marketplace that maybe Facebook's new NFT marketplace or OpenSea doesn't have? And are you able to reach a different demographic or something like that? But I'll let the VC guru.
But I think the biggest thing is the team. A lot of people, I'm gonna just be real, they aren't built for this space. As soon as adversity strikes, they quit right away. You can't be an entrepreneur and not deal with adversity, because it's gonna come. There's days where I have down days and some days where I have up days, and I just keep going. So I say, number one, look for the demeanor of that person, first and foremost. And then the concept comes second, because if you have a great team and a D product, you can figure out something there. You can build a magnificent product. But if you have a D team and an A product, that product is going to fail, because the team don't know how to get it to market, don't know how to sell it. So I say that's number one. Another thing is literally the market, too. If it's a big market, we know the blockchain space is huge. The Web3 space, Goldman Sachs is predicting that it's going to be over $1 trillion space. I hear opportunity if I'm an entrepreneur building today.
Yep. There's the 3 T's that we just covered, which is team, traction, and your target market. Those are the 3 things that people tend to look for. And I absolutely think, like, there's a couple of NFT marketplaces focused on the African, an African segment. So I would do, in terms of the target market, I would do some research and figure out who those players are and how you're, to Ross's point, how you're differentiated.
All right, how you doing? My name is Daishawn Hines, founder of Metro DAO. We are a platform that's designed to innovate civic engagement using the blockchain. So my question for you is that one of the biggest issues that we have is accessibility. What is the panel's opinion on the nature of accessibility for blockchain and NFTs? As we know, most communities, not even Black communities, but most people just aren't there yet from a tech space. They don't have the knowledge, they don't have the understanding of the crypto marketplace, or just how to download a wallet and actually interact with the metaverse and NFTs. So again, in regards to accessibility and get into a place where most people can actually interact in a sustainable and equitable way with NFTs and the blockchain, what's your opinion on that, on making it more accessible?
Yeah, I think some of the layer 1, some layer 2 blockchain companies, so we say Ethereum, Avalanche, Cardano, some of those platforms, a lot of them are creating ecosystem funds to do exactly what you mentioned, get people into the ecosystem, give them capital, give them access to their data, their tech, and you can build on top of their tech and their user base so that if you have an NFT, you can sell it right into a trusted audience right away. So I think, number one, tapping into the ecosystem funds. A lot of their, let's say, LPs, their VCs that invested into these companies, they have a mandate to, let's say, further build out that ecosystem because that VC is investing in other projects as well in the space. And if they're betting, let's say, $10 million on that layer one and they invested $250K into the seed company, they're just putting a little money there to make sure that this company that they invested in, they could take them to the finish line and they can deploy another check into them at an early component. So I think tapping into ecosystem funds right away, starting today. Flow, you mentioned Dapper Labs. They have a $725 million. If you want to get connected there, I'd love to figure out ways I can connect the dots. And yeah.
Amazing. Guys, we have come to the end of this illustrious panel. I'm Shimite Obialo, Sherrard Harrington, Ross Mack. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. We'll be available for questions as well if anyone wants to come and chat with us.